Hello everyone, I am your smart partner. That will keep you safe, the security guardian. Today, we're going to talk about NVR firmware updates, which many of you are curious about, yet find a bit difficult and somewhat intimidating. CCTV recorder NVR, feeling a bit scared to update it, right? For those of you wondering, what if I accidentally mess it up and lose all the recordings? Or, should I update it or not? We've prepared this for you, especially through our assistant Park's thrilling experiences. I will share them in an easy and fun way, so please stay tuned. Now, let's embark on a journey into the world of firmware updates. Let's go. A few months ago, Assistant Park was in charge of the company's security system. One day, after hearing about the latest security threats, Assistant Park checked the NVR security patch, and to my surprise, found many pending updates. Deputy Park was quite taken aback that the NVR's firmware, the core equipment of the security system, was outdated. Assistant Park hesitated for a long time about whether to update it. The existing system ran smoothly, so Assistant Park wondered if it was necessary to touch it. It was clear that accidentally messing up and losing important recording data would lead to a huge loss. However, after hearing about a new security vulnerability, the thought that the current system could be defenseless against hacker attacks made Assistant Park uneasy and anxious. In the end, Assistant Park decided to update the NVR firmware for the sake of company and personal data protection. However, Assistant Park was overwhelmed since it was his first time. The term, NVR firmware update, itself was unfamiliar, and searching online revealed only technical jargon and complicated procedures. Moreover, warnings that the equipment could break if done incorrectly made Assistant Park even more anxious. So, I explained to Deputy Park in detail the importance of updates and the precautions that must be taken. First, why is an NVR firmware update necessary? It's not just because the latest version is better for vague reasons. The most important reason is enhanced security. Today, cyber attacks are becoming increasingly sophisticated and diverse. Network devices like NVRs can be major targets. The latest firmware includes patches that address newly discovered security vulnerabilities. It's similar to regularly updating our smartphone operating systems to protect against viruses and hacking. Updating the NVR firmware is essential to safely protect valuable recording data from hacker intrusions and significantly enhance system stability. If updates are neglected, there is a risk that videos containing important evidence may be leaked or tampered with. The second point is performance improvements. Firmware updates are crucial for the proper functioning, security, and overall performance of an NVR system. They provide essential bug fixes, introduce new feature enhancements, and address known vulnerabilities. Regular updates ensure the NVR works as advertised. New firmware often polishes the user interface, making it more intuitive and efficient. These updates implement new abilities and features that often support newer camera technologies, ensuring your NVR remains compatible and capable of utilizing the latest surveillance equipment. Without these updates, your NVR might lag, unable to fully support advanced camera capabilities, or missing out on critical operational efficiencies. Therefore, keeping your NVR firmware current is not just about security, but also about maintaining optimal performance and leveraging the full potential of your entire surveillance system. Now, let's move on to the pre-update precautions and best practices, which are absolutely vital for a smooth process. Assistant Park learned these the hard way, so pay close attention. Firstly, you must check for updates regularly. Visit the manufacturer's website or support portal frequently for available updates for your NVR model. Secondly, evaluate the necessity of the update. Review release notes to understand the update's primary purpose. Is it patching critical vulnerabilities, fixing bugs, or offering significant performance improvements? If an update isn't critical, consider waiting, especially if your system is stable. The adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, holds some truth, as updates can introduce unforeseen issues. However, if it addresses a known security vulnerability or a persistent bug, Then updating becomes a higher priority. The third, and perhaps most crucial step, is to back up all your data and configurations. Before any firmware update, ensure a complete backup of all data and system configurations on your NVR. This is your safety net. If anything goes wrong, this backup will allow you to restore your system, preventing catastrophic data loss and minimizing downtime. Never skip this step. Fourthly, always read the release notes or changelog. This document is your guide to what the update entails, detailing all changes, fixes, and improvements. More importantly, it often contains specific update instructions or warnings. Ignoring these can lead to compatibility issues or incorrect installation. Fifth, check compatibility and prerequisites. Verify the firmware version is designed for your exact NVR hardware model. Using incompatible firmware can brick your device or disable crucial features. Also, confirm any prerequisites. Some updates may require a prior firmware version or specific configuration. Don't assume, always verify. Sixth, ensure a stable power supply. This cannot be stressed enough. Your NVR must be connected to a stable power source to prevent sudden shutdowns during the update. For stationary devices, a UPS is highly recommended. A sudden power outage during an update can corrupt firmware, rendering your NVR inoperable. Assistant Park had a close call, saved by a UPS. Seventh, verify your internet connection, if applicable. If updating online, a stable and reliable internet connection is paramount. Interruptions can lead to a failed or corrupted update. Eighth, use official sources only. Always download firmware directly from the manufacturer's website or official channels. Downloading from third-party sources is extremely risky. These unofficial files may contain malware, be corrupted, or incompatible, leading to security breaches or bricking your device. Stick to the trusted source every time. Ninth, prepare a rollback plan. Even with all precautions, things can go wrong. Ensure your rollback process is well documented and, if possible, tested. Keep older, stable firmware versions and configuration backups accessible. This allows you to revert to a working state if the new firmware introduces critical issues. Finally, ensure you have sufficient storage space. Firmware updates require significant storage. Ensure enough available space on your NVR by deleting unnecessary files or upgrading storage. An update failing due to insufficient space is an avoidable frustration. By meticulously following these pre-update steps, you significantly reduce the risk of problems, ensuring a much smoother and more secure transition to the latest NVR firmware. Now that we've covered the crucial preparation, let's dive into the update process itself. Assistant Park learned that even after all preparation, execution requires careful attention. Firstly, always follow the manufacturer's update instructions. These are critical steps to avoid issues. There are several common methods for upgrading NVR firmware. One is through the web interface. This involves logging into your NVR through a web browser and directly uploading the firmware file. It's often the most straightforward. Another approach is using a USB drive. You download the firmware to a USB drive, plug it into the NVR, and use the NVR's interface to install it. The USB drive often needs to be FAT32 or exFAT. Some manufacturers provide specific software tools, like Config Tool, to discover the NVR and perform the update remotely. Some modern NVRs support direct online upgrades. For a local upgrade, select a backup device, then the firmware, and click Upgrade. While steps vary, the generic process involves logging into the NVR, navigating to the Upgrade section, selecting the firmware file, and clicking Upgrade. Now, let's talk about crucial precautions during the update itself. These are non-negotiable. First and foremost, do not power off the NVR during the upgrade. This is the golden rule. Interrupting power can corrupt the NVR's operating system, potentially bricking the device. Assistant Park almost had a heart attack when power flickered, but a UPS saved the day. Similarly, do not disconnect the network cable or USB drive during the process. Any interruption can lead to a failed update. Once the update is complete, there are vital post-update steps. First, verify successful installation. Confirm the new firmware is installed via system settings. Second, thoroughly test device functionality. Don't just assume everything is working. Test your NVR system comprehensively to ensure all cameras function correctly. Recordings are made, and new features work. Pay attention to networking, peripheral connections, and software compatibility. Assistant Park made sure every camera feed was live and recording, and confirmed all motion detection settings were active. Third, keep a record. Maintain a detailed log of all firmware updates, including date, version, and any issues. This log is invaluable for troubleshooting. Finally, let's briefly touch upon troubleshooting common issues. If you encounter compatibility issues, double-check that the firmware is for your specific NVR model. If the NVR restarts repeatedly or is stuck at the logo, try updating via an external USB drive, FAT32 formatted, with program. Be in a recover folder.